Welcome back to Media7. In last week's show, we covered the speech in which Michael Steadman lamented the mistaken belief of TV programmers that people didn't like watching documentaries because they were obliged to think. Yet this week, days before the election, TV3 screened in prime time a documentary that was nothing if not food for thought.
We used to think of New Zealand as a great place to bring up kids. Not anymore. Last year, 150 babies died in this country who probably would be alive if they were born in Sweden, Japan, or even the Czech Republic. So why are we failing our children? And what can we do about it?
Russell's school is situated in East Porirua, a low-income area with one of the highest rates of rheumatic fever in the country.
Can you draw your house for me?
Much of it has to do with the kinds of houses children in this area have to live in, and how many people they have to live with. The first person to let me in was a young woman called Elsie, who has 4 young children. It was midwinter when I called, and she explained the house was so cold that the whole family slept in one downstairs room, just to keep warm.
Right, so how many people sleep down here?
Just me and my 4 kids. Like, there the 2 boys will sleep, right. And then Sadella will sleep on the couch, and me.
You and your 4 children.
Yeah, we'll just sleep in here. And it's kind of warming because we got this as our only heat source.
Right.
This one little heater.
You've got one little heater, yeah. And it's right by the baby's cot.
Yeah.
Last year, over 25,000 children like these, mostly from low-income families, were admitted to hospital for preventable respiratory infections, aggravated by living in damp, unhealthy houses.
I'm joined now by the creator of Inside Child Poverty, a special report, Brian Bruce. Did you make this program in the expectation that it would be shown in prime time in election week?
No, I started on this program a couple of years ago with an idea about the price of milk. When I was a boy of about 7, going to the dairy, the milk was threepence a pint. Most people in your audience won't know what threepence was. And Coke was a shilling. Milk was a quarter of the price of Coke. And it started from there, you know, what had happened to the global economy that suddenly now Coke's half the price of milk. And as I started to look into what had happened to us, as we had introduced the free market economy in 1984, I became aware of all of these issues of poverty that had happened as a result of the growing gap between the rich and the poor, these diseases that these kids were suffering. And so actually, it had its germination a couple of years ago, but I only made it this year, and I started in March.
Is there a danger, though, in believing that there was ever a golden era? I mean, if you actually look at the statistics, child and infant mortality is less than half now what it was in 1981. So it's not like, it's not an entirely bad story.
No, it's not. There's no golden era, but it's all about relativities, isn't it? And where are we in the rest of the world, and what should we be doing for our children?
The Herald on Sunday reported the documentary before it screened as promoting a key Labour policy. What's your response to that?
Well, I think there's one policy from Labour in there which is to do with the Minister of Children, and that's a damn good idea. I'll take damn good ideas from wherever I get them. But if you look at the rest of the program is actually about the free market economy and how I think we should have a fair market economy. And I went to Sweden to have a look at how they had dealt with moving from a welfare state to a free market economy. And they had high unemployment during the 90s, but their kids didn't suffer, and I wanted to know why. And what I discovered is they deliver the welfare directly to the children. In a lot of their welfare, they actually avoid the parents. So they deliver free medical care at the schools. Every school has a nurse. A doctor visits twice a week. Every child, rich or poor, is fed a good lunch every day. And I thought, that's a damn good idea. And towards the end of the program, I listed about 5 things that I think we could do. When I came back home, I thought, you know, the big question is, can we afford this? People say, oh, Sweden's a richer country than us, and we can't afford this. But so then I went and asked the Minister of, the Ministry of Health, how many kids under 14 had operations or operational procedures last year? And the answer came back 24,000 or something. Now, how much did that cost? 142 million. So then I spoke to paediatricians, and the paediatricians told me, I said, how many of those operations and procedures were preventable? And they said conservatively half. I don't want to get you lost in figures here, but $71 million we've got to play with. Well, for that $71 million, at the cost of $20 per visit to the GP, every child in New Zealand could have gone to the GP 4 times last year for the cost of what preventable operations cost. And that's just crazy. That's just dumb.
You did, I think, nonetheless, you must have realised that it would be politically sensitive. I mean, I gather you contacted all the
Yes.
major and minor political parties
Yes.
offering them preview screenings.
Yes, they all had.
Did they take it up?
They all had the offer last Sunday to watch it on private YouTube links, and they all took it up except for National, New Zealand First, and United Future.
Why, did they give any reason for not wanting to watch it?
No, and I didn't ask.
You've since had quite a response from bloggers aligned to National. It's been reasonably vicious. Did that give you pause?
No. Look, there's one of the things that I think we should do is to buy a lunch for every child. It's going to. The Swedes told me it costs about $4 to feed a child lunch, a good lunch. So that's $20 a week. We already give $88 a week to every parent for every child. I said, why don't we take $20 of that and spend it at the school? I don't see that in a Labour Party manifesto anywhere. If you look at all of the other ones that I've pointed out, National, I think, is now talking about free care for under 6s like
After
Labour.
hours, yeah.
I want all children up to the age of 18. Is that a Labour Party manifesto piece? No, I didn't make this as a commercial for Labour. What I want is all of the parties after the election to commit now to having cross-party talks after the election about a long-term future for our children.
Well, I have to say, Brian, I think even the fact that you've got people thinking and talking about this to the extent that we've seen is a small but significant victory. So,
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ryan Bruce. Also, thanks to Toby Manhire, Edwin Durand and Julian Wilcox. And as ever to you for watching. But before we go,
politicians aren't usually the leading exponents of alternative culture, but there are exceptions. Api Rananata, for example, was a notorious teddy boy. David Cunliffe runs the Nickelback Tumblr. Ironic, of course, and Geoffrey Palmer regularly buzzed out to Mike Oldfield. But the new breed of politicians are so post-ironic, they don't even want you to vote for them.
It's a yes or no question. Do you want to win Epsom?
Look,
So what exactly is Hipsters for Goldsmith?
basically we just sick of John Banks. He's got some glasses, pretending to be cool.
Paul Goldsmith really doesn't care whether we vote for him or not on Saturday. And that's the beauty of it in some ways. You may have noticed him taking his billboards down in Epsom. That's because he wants to stay sort of underground.
I don't know, man. It's just like, you know, kind of whatever.
It's finally good that we've got someone who, you know, didn't go out there guns blazing, who took a while to find himself and do a Master of Arts. Someone who doesn't care anymore about becoming the MP for Epsom than we do. That's why we want to party down with Paul Goldsmith.
Yeah, vote for Goldsmith. I'm probably not going to vote there, to be honest.
I don't even live in Epsom.
Well, I'd ad-lib you a zinger, but that would be too try-hard. Goodbye.